Hello everyone, welcome back to the mystical and multi-dimensional comic vault. It is me, Captain Logan, and joining me as always is Austin, the Day Ghost. And we are alternating back and forth on the vault, trying to do this twice a month, and it was Austin's turn to pick, and Austin wanted to do some comics of one of his favorite characters, and we're going all the way back to the actual beginning, the full-on, straight-up beginning of Doctor Strange, starting in 1963 with, of course, Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. And Austin, thanks for picking this, because I don't know that I ever would have read this stuff if my God, Cap!
If you hadn't
picked this
for we're in the purple dimension.
Oh, that's true. yeah, that's true. I had that thought the whole time I was reading this. I was like, oh yeah, those are the powers I want. It's the mystical powers I want is just the whatever that purple mist. I'm still a little bit fuzzy on what exactly that stuff does.
That just takes you to the purple dimension.
Oh, okay.
Where there's not really that much purple when you go there.
No, it seemed like it was just sort of a beam. Anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Austin, why don't you talk for a minute about why you picked this, and then just break down the format this is in, because it's very different from what we usually talk about and from how characters in general in early Marvel are introduced. I guess there's a few that are like this, but for like major characters that later get their own books, it's kind of unusual.
It is definitely unusual. So the reason I picked this is actually Adam March, one of our viewers on Discord. He was like, I think I'm going to get into Doctor Strange. And we were kind of just talking back and forth about it. And just talking about it, I was like, man, like I really loved that stuff. I might reread this. And then I messaged you and I was like, hey, Cap, like I'm going to reread this. Would you be interested in doing it? And then because it's Cap and I, we were like, let's just do a whole big show where we just go back and forth on comics. But that's how it starts.
That's true. Your choice for this is how we brought this show back regularly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Because it was your idea to sneak
Batman, so we did some Batman stuff first.
Right. But it was your idea to sneak it in after Captain Logan shows a couple times a month, and I was like, I mean, that might work. Because I was starting to get really frustrated with not talking about comics regularly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I think both of us were like just happy to talk comics. So
yeah.
So we'll see if this works.
And I think we'll get a lot of variety out of going back and forth like this, because you and I have a lot of crossover with our favorite things, and then there's definitely a lot of places where we diverge.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you like a lot of occult and more horror stuff and and even more fantasy bent just in general than I do. And so that gives us a really nice spread of stuff. And we'll probably get more like either non-superhero or not just like crime fighter in a costume on the street type superhero with some of your picks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Some weirder things, I guess, with like Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
that's like weird because it's mainstream Marvel, but you know what I mean.
Well, this is one of those things that I feel remiss in as a Marvel fan not having read this stuff before, because just premise-wise, Doctor Strange never resonated with me. Like, never immediately jumps at me as a thing that I need to sit down and read. And so I've read more now because of the channel and the stuff people have requested here and there. So like I've done The Oath and stuff like that. And,
yeah, we read the first arc of Jason Aaron's Doctor Strange.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. And so I tend to enjoy it when somebody straps me to a chair and makes me do it.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And I've got some early Marvel like this that I want to make you read at some point too. Like one of the earlier things on my list of things I'd like to put on this show is the first several issues of Daredevil, and like at least the Yellow Outfit stuff, because I know you've not read that.
Yeah, no, that's one of those Stan Lee runs, because at some point I'd like to read through all of his runs in full.
Yeah.
And that's one of the ones I'm missing. It's like that, FF, and like most of his Thor.
So I bring that up just to say this is not that far off from other things I want to do too. Like I want to get in this period in general. So
yeah, one, we also just did Just Imagine Stan Lee, which we weren't super positive about. So it's nice to kind of go over into an era where he was really great. Not that this is an especially great because of Stan Lee book, but still.
No, but his writing is still more, at least enthusiastic and
Yes.
engaging than Just Imagine. Like, you don't even. I mean, listen to our review because we had a good time with it. I think it's an amusing review. But like, all you have to do to understand how we felt about Just Imagine is read this. Like, read anything from this period. You'll understand the difference between early 2000s Stan Lee and when he was trying to keep his company, trying to get his company going in the first place, Stan Lee.
No, exactly.
He was at his best when he had to write 19 things a week.
I know, it's crazy.
He really was. I mean, one of the craziest things about this, because we didn't read, these are all backup features, and we didn't read the main stories with any of these, so you're going to see a lot of covers tonight that have nothing to do with the actual stories that we're talking about, besides a little blurb on the front that goes, oh, and by the way, Doctor Strange is also in this. He's got a story. And the craziest thing to think about to me is this is not all he's writing, even just in this monthly. Like, he's also writing the Human Torch main features.
Well, that's what's so strange to me. There you go. There's the word. Is you have Strange Tales, and the main segment of it is the Human Torch, which then becomes the Human Torch and the Thing, which then becomes Nick Fury. Because during this run, it will change 3 times.
I forgot Fury was in here.
Yeah, I think that's later on. Like, that's maybe like the last couple of issues, but like that Ditko works on Strange. But
so I didn't look into the history of this at all. But just looking at this, my theory would be the reason that Doctor Strange doesn't full on take over this book is that it's selling well because of Human Torch.
No, that's exactly it. It's always been weird to me that you would call a book Strange Tales and the main segment is like something so not that strange, just Human Torch. Like, it's just kind of fun little adventures.
Yeah,
like,
it's
side FF stuff, really.
Well, it's clear that what happened was because I'm sure the very earliest issues of this are not Human Torch. Like, I don't know what they are, but I'm sure it starts as a more like pulpy, like horror thriller kind of bent, like a lot of that stuff did, right?
The kind of
like,
anthology thing, yeah.
Yeah, like Amazing Fantasy didn't have a regular feature; it was just different, random, disparate stories. So, and even just looking at the font with that title, it's obvious that this starts as more of a like EC Comics sort of idea, and you had a bunch of that at Marvel, where we're still in a little bit of a transition period. It feels like between Timely and what will be full on Marvel, and
exactly.
So it's just a placeholder title where it's like we have this book already going. Here's a character that's kind of popular now, so we'll just shove him in there. But what's kind of surprising to me is that you name a character after the book, or maybe they just came up with Doctor Strange and said, well, we have a book with the word Strange in it, so we'll throw that in as the backup feature. And you would think it would not take very long before he just takes the book over, Like, at least Detective Comics, Batman was a detective, so it made sense to just keep going with that where it's always Batman, but it's detective in the title. How do you have a character named Doctor Strange and he's not your main feature?
Yeah, he's like you said, like barely even on the covers. I think in Ditko's run, he is the focus of the cover on his last issue, and I think it's just that. It's crazy.
Isn't that wild?
It's strange, even.
I like the way I'm going to get ahead of myself for a second, but I like the way Stan Lee kind of plays around with that word. And I think for Stan Lee, it's really subtle, where just occasionally somebody will say the word strange and he doesn't call any attention to it. He'll keep kind of throwing it in there.
Gonna sneak it in.
I think that's fun.
Yeah, no, that is fun. No, he gets to go to all that, like those kinds of adjectives in this book, like macabre, like all that stuff.
Yeah. One phrase that kept coming up that I kind of wondered about was "not for nothing." Just that he says it 3 or 4 times.
They should have renamed the book to that. Not for nothing tales.
Not for nothing tales.
And then underneath is the price tag.
I gotta be honest with you. I possibly enjoyed this even more than I would have had we not just done Just Imagine.
Okay.
Because this was really refreshing after that. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I miss playful Stan Lee.
Yeah, absolutely. No, this is when both he and Ditko are just at the top of their game. Like, obviously, this is very early into Spider-Man. Like, he's only been around for a year,
Yeah.
but like they're both just firing off.
Well, and what's fun about it is it feels like their stuff is all real fresh during this period because they're trying real hard to not repeat themselves, and it's working.
Yeah, absolutely.
In a way that with Just Imagine it didn't at all, because he recreates all of these DC characters, and a lot of them feel really derivative for something else he did from this period. Here he's starting basically from scratch, and obviously he's got to be drawing from a million of his favorite things of influences. But it seems like what he's doing is he goes, well, we've got Spider-Man, we've got the Fantastic Four, we've got the Hulk, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know if Hulk had come out yet. I think it had.
Yes, I want to say he's like fourth in the list of things that come out. But
obviously, you've got Thor already. There's a Thor crossover in this, and so he's going, what's a kind of thing we haven't done yet? Well, we haven't done like the occult wizard guy. And
they're showing off some of their love for like Vincent Price horror movies.
Yeah. And I don't know, there's something of a passion here that makes me, again, a little bit surprised that this didn't start as its own book, or at least take this over after, like, a couple of issues. It reads real timid, like Stan Lee loves this idea, and maybe Ditko loves this idea, and they just don't know if it'll sell. And at first I thought maybe it had something to do with Doctor Strange not being a real typical superhero idea, where like he's not wearing a cape, he doesn't have a secret identity, it's none of that stuff. But then like the Hulk gets his own book right away, and he's barely a superhero at all.
Well, it might be since that's first, because that gets canceled after like 4 issues, and then he goes to Tales to Astonish. So maybe like they were more trepidatious after that.
I always forget about that.
Yeah, it lasts like a couple issues and then gets canceled. So maybe that's why. But Doctor Strange doesn't get his own title until like 73. Like
it's like 10
like
years
that.
after this.
Yeah, and that's under Englehart.
Yeah, it's just like First Class and Days of Future Past. Nothing important happens between 1963 and 1973.
Well, pretty much. I don't know if you've ever seen like some of the weird stuff they do between that and when Ditko leaves. Like Doctor Strange has a mask for like a little bit.
Weird.
It's like the worst design ever.
Can I mention a couple of things that surprised me right out of the gate with this?
Yeah, go for it.
One of them is just that so much of the lore in the 12-14 backup features that we read here is established and sticks. Like, this isn't like X-Men, which becomes kind of a different thing later on. Most of the stuff that you know from, and this is true with Spider-Man too, it's not like Doctor Strange is the only character that has this, but like very little is retroactively reinvented. Like a lot of the stuff that's even in the MCU movies we have here already.
Yeah, even Doctor Strange has a globe in this book that shows him like when kind of magical disasters are happening. And that's one of the first things we see in the movie. I think when he uses the Eye of Agamotto for the first time, they like bring him aside and they have like a giant globe.
Oh, yeah.
It like that's clearly adapting the little globe thing he has in his apartment or loft, or it changes issue to issue. But
yeah, like I was kind of taking note as I went of how early each of the big like major mythology things came up. So like when's the first time that you hear Eye of Agamotto? When's the first time that you see the Sanctum and the symbol? It's on like page 2. Like he's He's
Yeah.
already got that symbol in his window from the beginning. I was kind of surprised by that. Dormammu is referenced very early. This read to me kind of like a sort of disjointed season of television. This was like a TNG or something, right? It was like 70s or 80s, like genre TV where it's gotta be real episodic in case it's the first time you come in. But if you read it all, I can't say there's an arc, but there's a real clear continuity all the way through it, and nothing is retconned. Like the only thing that's different as far as what we're even calling things is the ancient one is referred to as the Master the first two issues, and then it changes just kind of randomly, kind of conspicuously to the Ancient One, but then occasionally Doctor Strange still calls him the Master, so like it's clear it's the same guy, and you're just kind of interchanging them, and so like that doesn't even feel like a retcon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, from when I first read it, the way I would describe Ditko's run is it's like reading an RPG, where it's like Doctor Strange will go on a little side quest, and then he'll maybe pick up a skill or some sort of item that then he keeps for the rest of the book.
That's a great way to put it, yeah. And like we establish rules, and we pretty well stick to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
And in different places, we'll find out about something, like more about something that we already are familiar with. For instance, we know that Doctor Strange can astral project from the very beginning, and like he's got his astral form, he can come out of his body, and as it goes on, we keep kind of establishing new things about how that works. One of my favorite issues is the one where Mordo, it's like 3 or 4 from the end of what we read, where Mordo is trying to keep Doctor Strange's astral body from his real body, and we're told, like, he kidnaps Doctor Strange's body. I'm like, why didn't you lead with that? That was a really good plan. Mm-hmm. And because he's got a lot of like stupid plans, and then when he does one that seems like it could actually work, I'm like, you're an idiot for not thinking of this in the first damn place. So he steals Doctor Strange's body, and we get the rule that if he's out of it for 24 hours, then both of them die. Like he can't come back together. And I was pretty confident that is now a rule that we will remember and continue forward. It makes for clear stakes and a good ticking clock and all of that.
Yeah, exactly. And another way that this book is very different than other books is while you'll get like, a random throwaway kind of one-off villain, or not throwaway because a lot of those are pretty cool, but just one-off villains, while Strange really only has 3 villains in this book that are like a rogues gallery, which are Mordo, Nightmare, and Dormammu, and we're already done with Nightmare for the rest of this run. If I remember right, he doesn't come back.
That's disappointing. Because, now I will say, I liked his realm more than I liked him. Like,
sure, yeah.
He was a cool idea, but he was kind of a moron. But then I guess they're all kind of morons here and there. But that was some of the charm of it. It was kind of fun. While I'm there, I'll just say, Nightmare's second appearance. He comes in twice here, and right. And
I had to think about it. I think it's 3.
No, I think it was just 2.
Because he's in the first issue.
Oh wait, he's in the first issue.
Very, very briefly, and I can't remember if he's named or not.
Okay,
but
he's the main villain in 2 stories.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, so his second appearance is fun because Doctor Strange is so tired that he just forgets to put up the mystical barrier he usually does so that people can't get to him when he's sleeping or meditating. And so he goes to sleep, and then Nightmare is able to stick him in his nightmare realm, and Doctor Strange can't use his powers, and he doesn't realize he's sleeping. And he's like, oh, crap, I basically forgot to set my alarm. And Nightmare is like, haha, got you. You can't do anything about it. You're stuck in my realm forever. And then Doctor Strange makes his real arch nemesis, who's this like scary monster thing that never sleeps, and so like it's the only thing that can affect Nightmare because it doesn't sleep, makes it appear to him. And Nightmare's an idiot because the first thing Nightmare should be thinking is, wait, how did a thing that never sleeps get into my realm? Like, he never asked that question.
Well, my favorite part is
like, what am I missing there, Austin? How did he think he got there? And then the big reveal from Doctor Strange is, no, I did a spell on your mind. It was all in your head. And I'm like, of course it was. What else could it have been?
But it's even better because right before he does that, Nightmare's like, I hate you so much, Doctor Strange. You're the one man I've never been able to beat. And then that monster appears and he goes, oh, crap, it's that thing that doesn't dream. It's the thing I've never been able to beat.
It's the other one thing I've never been able to beat. Yeah, Nightmare's great. And again, he and Mordo are both kind of dumb.
Oh, 100%.
Because again, Mordo's plans are really stupid initially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And
I can't even remember them all. I counted it. Mordo, so we read 12 or 14 of these, and
I think 15.
Mordo is the villain for almost half of them. He shows up 6 times.
Of course. When I first read this stuff, I was like, okay, the first issue is Nightmare, and then it's Mordo, and then I think it's Mordo again, and then it's Nightmare. And I was like, okay, there's like a pattern. Like, we just go back and forth between those two, and then Nightmare just kind of drops off at a certain point. But
what was neat about Dormammu at the end is that we've been invoking him all the way through this. Like, he is a source of power that both Doctor Strange and Mordo have to go to sometimes for spells. And you don't even really know that he's an evil entity for a while. Like, we just keep saying his name. At one point, there's a typo where we say it with an M in the first place, where he's Mormammu.
Mormammu. There's also a typo in one issue where Mordo calls Doctor Strange Doctor Doom.
Oh, you know, you've told me about that one before. I missed that, but I found Mormammu and thought that was really funny. There's also some unintentional rhyming that made me laugh. Like, Doctor Strange and Mordo both do it.
You gotta rhyme if you're a wizard.
Or maybe it's Dormammu. I can't remember. But yeah, but it's clearly not intentional. They get really Dr. Seussy. And then, but yeah, so when we finally get to Dormammu, and I mean, I'm partly saying this just because of where you decided to make the cutoff point, but it's a very natural cutoff point. It feels like a big season ender for lots of reasons, because Dormammu is the most powerful thing Doctor Strange deals with. That's the first thing. And then it's the only, like, 2-part story we have, which feels a lot longer and more epic than it should, because it's only 16 pages, but we've been reading 8 and 9-page stories. So it feels like a big deal cliffhanger. I don't know why the first part says the end instead of to be continued, but whatever, because it's like, the end! Next month, the story continues. All right. And then...
I mean, that is the same issue where in the letters pages, Stanley refers to England as down under. So
I didn't get to read the letters pages because I read this in the Epic collection.
That was the only letters page that I saw when I was on Marvel Unlimited.
Oh,
so
weird.
They're very inconsistent.
Okay. When you told me that, I was kind of jealous. I was like, I wish I'd been reading the letters pages.
It was also in the middle of the issue, which is weird because there's a part in one of the letters where Stanley's like, "Oh, how do you like this girl we introduced in this issue?" But like that story's after the letters pages.
Oh, weird. Yeah, that is strange. Well, that might have been Marvel Unlimited just sticking that in the wrong place or something.
Could be.
But it probably isn't. But the third thing that made that feel like a clear, like, end of a season of something, to put it in television terms, is, and then the Ancient One gives him his new outfit, or gives him, like, part of a new outfit that will then change his look. And you don't it's weird that the end of that issue doesn't, like, show you his red cape, because it's just the Ancient One handing him a new, more powerful medallion and a cape. You don't even see that it's red, I don't think. He just says, like, here's your new stuff.
It's yellow, which I don't know if is an error in like printing or if they decided to change it.
Because what I was thinking when I read it was, oh, this is like, in hindsight, this is a missed opportunity. This would have been the perfect place to give him the red cape, but I bet they just haven't thought of that yet. And then I peeked forward to the next issue, and he's got it on page 1. And I'm like, okay, this feels like season 1 to season 2 of something.
Yeah, we, like, kind of tweaked it a little bit.
Yeah, but I thought that was really cool.
No, it is really cool.
And I thought it was
Although,
neat that there's this like big moment where he gets his more modern, like what we're used to costume, almost like, Stan Lee knows that that's going to be a bigger deal later, and like he doesn't, but it's just cool how that worked out.
yeah. What's also really funny because the Ancient One's kind of the ultimate villain because he sends Doctor Strange to fight Dormammu, who's like an evil god, and then when he comes back, he goes, "Yeah, you won. Here's a way more powerful cape and amulet as a reward."
That's a really good point. That's maybe another thing
that you could have gave it to him when he went.
Well, and the Ancient One also like almost traps him in time at one point.
Yeah, he's just the real villain of this book.
I didn't think of it like that. I mean, now that you say that, that's funny. But it's kind of more that he's just old and senile and honestly probably should just retire and let Doctor Strange... Like, why does he have to wait till he dies? He's like, at some point, I'll no longer be here, and then you'll be... Now, one thing they don't have yet is Sorcerer Supreme. That term has not come up yet. Like, they keep saying Master,
where that comes from.
And they mean Sorcerer Supreme, but they haven't come up with it yet. Is what it reads like to me.
Yeah, because when the Ancient One dies, that moniker is there already, but I'm not sure when they come up with that. But they at least retroactively make that a little bit better because when the Ancient One does die, like all of his power goes into Doctor Strange.
Oh,
so he gets like a bigger power up.
That makes more sense. But that's another thing. I loved your point earlier about this feeling like a tabletop role-playing game, because that's what the Ancient One giving him more power after he kills a thing feels like, right?
Exactly.
It's like now you level up.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Another way it's also very much like a season of TV, which you wouldn't know having only read this, is Where We Leave Mordo is also kind of the end of him as a solo villain. Where Doctor Strange beats him, and it's like, I've beaten him for good.
That reads like there's some finality to it, but I was honestly expecting him to show up like 2 issues later because he just won't go away. Like he
does show up 2 issues later, but it's like, I have a mysterious benefactor. You'll never guess who it is, and I'm way more powerful now.
Gee, I wonder. Well, it's not going to be Nightmare, so
Yeah, I wonder what villain Mordo is known for working with now in modern day.
Shocked no one. It's like when the White Ranger turned out to be Tommy. Like, what?
Although it could have been Cleopatra giving Mordo more power.
That was the biggest like side swiping shock to me, was when we have there's this weird time travel issue where there's this girl in present day, and it turns out that she was Cleopatra all along. Like I didn't call that. We gotta go back in time for some reason. I'm fuzzy on that issue and what the point
I was a little
the time travel was.
Reading it too. I don't know if I was just kind of in like a different headspace when I was reading that specific issue, but I was also kind of like, okay, like how is this tracking?
My eyes glazed over a little bit during that one.
That's probably my least favorite issue of.
Well, we didn't have any fun with the time travel. We went back for 3 pages. They're only 8-page stories. I get that, but we went back for like 2 or 3 pages so that he could go back and get something. I forget what. And then you have that kind of exciting part where he's trying to get back to the present, but he might not make it. I liked that bit.
Yeah, that part is really cool.
And then he gets back, and then it's just... It's clunky, right? Like, the whole thing is for this big reveal that was not at all set up. Like...
Yeah, even when he goes back in time and he sees the villain of it, like he looks like an alien. Like the armor he's wearing.
Yeah. Okay, so you said that was your least favorite issue. That was maybe mine too. What was the coolest issue? We'll go real overview with this. We're not gonna go issue by issue with it. So
yeah,
we'll just hit the highlights like this. What was the most fun story, since they're all real kind of individual anthology type stories?
So I like a lot of them, and I feel like the obvious answer is the Dormammu 2-parter, but I'm gonna go with the evil house issue because that's always stuck with me. I think it's really weird,
You stole
really
mine,
cool.
man. It's haunted
Yeah,
house all the way. I freaking love that issue, and
it's so
that's
cool.
the antithesis to the Cleopatra thing, where that was like really well built up to.
Mm,
The big reveal in that. So I'll just do a real brief synopsis with this because I usually have Austin do it, but I know what happens in this issue. So there's a haunted house, ostensibly a haunted house, and there's this news anchor guy that wants to do this publicity stunt where he's gonna go spend the night in the haunted house to prove that it's not actually haunted. And what he and what's cool is the issue is on his side. Like seeing keeps writing things like this guy's really courageous. He's gonna spend the night in a haunted house for publicity. So he goes in to stay the night, and in the meantime, Doctor Strange knows there's something really weird up with his house, and he's worried something's gonna happen to this guy. So he comes in just to kind of look out for him, and his astral form can't get into the house because there's some kind of barrier up, and he's like, "This is weird. Something's wrong with his house," and he's like, "That guy shouldn't have gone in there." And the news anchor guy starts seeing like weird mystical type stuff that he's trying to write off as there must be a scientific explanation for it. And then ultimately it seems like it really is haunted. But when you get to the end of the story, it turns out that the house itself is a living entity from, and we have a lot of interdimensional stuff in this, but that's the issue where it's not from another dimension, it's from another space-time continuum. And like Austin said, it's just real creepy and weird, and I loved that. And I kind of wanted a more like extended, like 30-page story about Haunted House Guy, because I loved Haunted House Guy.
yeah, and his one wall is just a big face. It's like Ego as a house. It's so cool.
It's so cool. Oh, this is Austin's favorite panel.
Oh yes, where it's Spider-Man's mask.
There's a lot of spiderweb imagery through this, and it is Ditko, so that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And
Ditko apparently just really likes designing like every drawer's like worst nightmare. Like like Spider-Man's got to be one of the most annoying comic book characters to draw, right? Because of how many lines there are. And like you look at that with Nightmare, like
that's maybe the only thing that he and McFarlane really have in common. Is that they design characters that are just friggin' obnoxious for anybody else to have to draw.
Mm-hmm. Sure, yeah. Like, oh man, like it's just, especially in comics when you're working on a monthly schedule, to knock this stuff out.
Yeah.
But what was I going to say?
And in that day when there's all this heavy lifting that only a few people are doing, like most people aren't on one book.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, yeah, even with Ditko, like obviously these are 8-page stories, but he's doing this and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And other stuff as well. Like
I was going to say, he's got to be drawing other stuff also.
I know he's on Iron Man, but I can't remember if that's... I think it's probably started at this point.
Okay, can I say something that might sound kind of controversial, and then I'll explain it? Because of course I really like Ditko's art in this. And it's odd and it's off the beaten path. I think the best design choice for Doctor Strange, and I kind of wish we'd never lost it, is he doesn't have pupils.
Oh, his eyes are always closed?
Not just closed, but when they're open, there's no dots. Like, they're just... He looks like he has cataracts all the time.
Oh, okay.
And I really like that design choice. And it's an early Doctor Strange thing that we lose very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look at any panel where he's actually got his eyes wide open. And it's on purpose because characters comment on it.
Yeah. No, that is true. That would have been interesting to keep going.
I really like that because it's the main thing that makes him look otherworldly, and we make a big deal out of how mysterious he is. Mm-hmm. And
he's a public figure. Like, everybody knows who this guy is.
He's like the Fantastic Four. And
yeah.
I want to go back to the origin issue and look closer and see if he doesn't have that before he becomes the sorcerer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be really interesting. Yeah, I wonder if you maybe could have done it with just him or like all of the sorcerers, like it's just a thing.
Well, there's kind of regardless if we did it with anybody else, there's a cool irony in it, maybe. I'm going to read too far into this, but there's a cool irony in it, maybe, with Stephen Strange, where, like, he looks blind when he gets his sight.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes any sense, because the idea is, and we get the origin that more or less sticks, although later on it'll be expanded upon quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But in the third issue here, we get in Stan Lee being real tongue in cheek. He's like, "We forgot to do his origin. Whoops."
Yeah, which is funny because it's very obvious that the first 2 issues are just a proof of concept.
Yeah, they're hardly really stories, and he doesn't.
And they're only 4 pages. They're not even the full 8.
And he doesn't know what Doctor Strange's backstory is at all. I don't even know if he knows he was a physician yet.
No, I don't think there's any hints towards that.
But he's got still by that third issue the initial origin of he just cares about money. He's not into being a doctor to help people. He puts people off all the time when they really need him, and then he hurts his hands, and then he goes to the Ancient One, who's called the Master first, because he is desperate, and his, like, kind of road to redemption is he has to always put people first, and, like, Doctor Strange, like humanity first. And I liked the moral dilemmas about that through this, where there were various places where he was gonna have to maybe even let, like, other dimension, like interdimensional beings get hurt because he has to put human beings first.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that. And he's got kind of his own power responsibility bent. Like, there's a phrase that keeps coming back, kind of like with great power comes great responsibility. That's like he has his great power, and that means that he has this oath where he has to always protect people, and that's like kind of this penance he's doing because he didn't protect people when he was a doctor. But it's not this trade-off that's spoken about really either. That's like the Ancient One never says, because you did this, you're being cursed with this power. It's like the universe just does that because that's justice. And that makes a lot of sense in a book where you also have Doctor Strange constantly saying good always wins over evil. Like, he lives in a universe where that's a basic tenet of how the universe works.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just cosmic justice making that guy have to always put other people first. And the fact that he looks blind is really interesting to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something I've never really thought about, but that is really interesting.
I'm finished with my speech. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I really BS my way through that. I had none of that prepared.
Sorry, my cat distracted me. It jumped up in a bug.
Dude, one of my dogs has been doing that constantly. It's driving me crazy.
Yeah, I know, it's ridiculous.
Like the kids keep letting flies in when they go outside, so my dog Apollo just keeps going around the house going. And the first couple times he did it, I was like, "What the hell is he doing?" He's like biting at nothing.
Yeah. No, it's so funny. But yeah, there was something else I was going to say with the house story. Oh, yeah, that's what it was. What I really like about this book, like you kind of touched on at the beginning, is it's kind of filling in a spot that they don't have in the new Marvel line.
There's the purple veil.
No, it's the purple dimension.
Whatever that is.
And everybody there wears green.
Well, it's the veil itself that's purple, see, and he gets beyond it.
Yeah, but then he goes, "Oh, I'm in the purple dimension."
Well, the dimension itself, see, is purple, like the barrier. But the dimension inside doesn't have to be purple.
It's like how Iceland isn't frozen.
Well, sure, but it's like just imagine that the world you lived in was covered in a blanket, right? And you called it like the purple world because the physical world is purple. But then if you go into it, nothing inside of it is purple.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
See, that's how it's the purple dimension.
Hmm. Well, and then he uses the purple dimension to attack Loki later on because it's an RPG. He learned a thing and then he brings it back later.
Yeah, it's a great sense of continuity.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. And even just kind of subtle things like Mordo will hit him with an ability that Strange has never used before, and then like an issue later he'll use that ability too. And it's I don't know, it's very tight in that way.
Yeah, and he'll even call back to specific instances sometimes,
Hmm.
which is cool. There's too many Mordo stories, so I don't remember which one it is. But there's a place where he's like, yeah, Mordo, I remember the last time you did that, and it's not gonna work this time because you did that before.
Probably because in universe that was like yesterday.
It was like yesterday for me too. Here it is, the House of Shadows. I loved everything about this issue. This is the best one.
Yeah. No, because I really like that this book just is a horror book at times. And there you have the eye on the forehead.
Yeah, that's where you first get that.
His amulet. That's not the Eye of Agamotto yet, but I think it is now that he has the new amulet.
Yeah, the word Agamotto comes up with incantations, but I don't know if he straight up ever calls it the Eye of Agamotto.
He calls that globe thing the Eye of Agamotto at one point.
Oh.
But that gets retconned pretty quickly from what I remember.
Okay. But again, not a lot does. A lot of this sticks.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, because right now his amulet is just called an amulet, and he goes, my mystical amulet. I have an eye in it.
You know what's weird? We introduced Wong already, and it's blink and you miss it. Like, he gets nothing to say. He's hardly there. Do you read this and feel like Doctor Strange needs somebody more to talk to? Because weirdly, I kind of liked how isolated he was, because he's supposed to be like a really lonely character.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think that's really great.
Also part of his penance.
Pages. Like, if this were
You're
brought
right.
out to 22, I think you probably need him to be talking to somebody.
Yeah.
And like those blink and you miss it moments, we've seen Wong twice now, where it's like he shows up once, and I think the first issue, and then he shows up again. I don't think it's the purple. No, it's one of the Nightmare stories. He shows up and they refer to him as Wong. That's like all you'll really get with Wong in this run, is like every now and then Doctor Strange will be like, oh, Wong. Like, he's maybe in like 5 panels.
Yeah, he's literally just his assistant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Like, he's not even gonna get to ask for a tuna melt. You know, just nothing for Wong.
No, he has to go and get one on his own. Because that was one of the biggest.
He wouldn't say no, though.
He
wouldn't say no to a tuna melt.
Yeah, exactly. No, that was one of the big things that surprised me. Is I figured this run would get to a point where Wong is, for lack of a better word, like his like sidekicky kind of assistant guy.
Yeah, this gets away from a lot of that stuff. Not that there's a lot of sidekicks in the first run of 60s Marvel. Like, Stan Lee's already getting away from a lot of that, but really a lot of the major like superhero trappings, the tropes that you expect, are not here. And of course, he's, like we said earlier, he's not the only character in this continuity right now that doesn't have a secret identity, because the Fantastic Four don't either, but a lot of the rest of them do. And some of them are real forced, where it's like, why does Thor have to be a doctor with a secret identity? So it's interesting that Doctor Strange doesn't have that, because he would almost warrant it more.
He's just a public, like, paranormal investigator type thing.
Yeah, and well established for years, which kind of suggests that he is maybe kind of the first MCU superhero.
Yeah, like probably after Captain America, probably.
Yeah. You ever thought about that?
I didn't in that way, but no, you're probably right. He probably technically is, because
you've seen the Fantastic Four.
Like, years go by.
Yeah, you get the FF origin, and it's not like a bunch of years go by. I want to say immediately after they get their powers is more or less where we're at when we start telling stories with them.
Yeah, no, it is. That's true. Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
Well, it's weird because I feel like when we brought him into the MCU, like, it feels like that is maybe how it could be, but also they like reference Civil War at the beginning, so like it also can't be. But like when you're watching his like training and stuff, like it feels like it could be over like a couple years. At
Well,
least I have that.
yeah, and you get that name drop in Winter Soldier, like Stephen Strange is a well-known person.
Hmm.
But then when
Yeah,
you get to the Doctor Strange movie, I don't feel like he's famous enough for
to be like the second name drop on that. Yeah.
yeah, that like Sitwell would know who he is.
Hmm.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, he's just a famous surgeon, I guess.
My second favorite story was like Mordo stealing Doctor Strange's body because I just thought it was a really good kind of obvious in the right way sort of concept. We're like, yeah, you got to tell that story.
100%. And I love how you just kind of have to roll with it. Like, Mordo could easily just kill him, but instead he's like, I'm just gonna hold on to your body.
No, he's got an explanation for it.
Yeah, what's like about how he wants to gloat over him, isn't
No,
it?
The explanation is Doctor Strange. For some reason he can't destroy it. Like there's a conversation about that.
Oh, okay, I must have missed that. I
And
assumed it
like
was just that, like,
a
I want to see
easy
you die.
it's a no, it's an easy rule, of course, but he's like I think he says he just has some kind of spell over his body where he, like he can't just straight up destroy it.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
that's too easy, and then the idea that if you're in your regular body you also can't hurt an astral person or vice versa, like that's also kind of easy.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you had to come up with
that's
some of these
another
arbitrary
power.
rules to make the story work, but
Mhm. Yeah, and that ends up being another power up Strange gets, is he gets like a ring or something that he has
yes.
that allows him to hurt people or to affect things physically while in his astral form.
I forgot about that. But yeah, no, if Mordo could have just destroyed his body, he would have, because he says that.
Yeah.
But he's like, but Doctor Strange, what you're not thinking about, which makes Doctor Strange kind of dumb in that moment, is if you're out of your body too long, it's not going to matter. And then you'll just die. So that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I think that was pretty great. Oh, earlier I was going to say something that might come off controversial, and I didn't get to it, which
Oh
is
yeah.
Ditko, as much as I like his art with this, does not seem like the natural choice for this.
Oh, okay.
And I just think it's really interesting that this wasn't a Kirby book initially, because it's the most cosmic thing they're doing at the start.
Mhm.
And a lot of the kinds of things that get drawn in the Nightmare dimension and then later in Dormammu's dimension feel like natural Kirby things, but Ditko's the one doing them. And his unique style makes that all his own, but it is more simplistic, and it just doesn't seem like it seems like a really odd choice on Stan Lee's part.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how you find that in the back half, because that's where you get stuff like Eternity and like a lot more realm jumping.
Yeah.
And so like it goes even bigger than that, because I kind of always assumed that Eternity was one of the Kirby characters, but obviously he's not.
Yeah, it seems like a Kirby game. And there's a few designs in this that feel like things Kirby might have initially drawn, but
I did
interestingly
have
are
that.
Ditko. Particularly the oh yeah, it's in the Dormammu dimension. The woman that he deals with feels like a Kirby drawing to me.
Interesting. Yeah, Clea.
Is that actually Clea?
Yeah, she's never named until his final issue.
Okay, because
But
I wondered about that, and that was the thing that I thought was it was odd that wasn't established yet, because you have a woman real early on who Doctor Strange says is a potential sorceress, and
yeah, I
for a
don't think
second I
she
thought
ever comes back.
maybe that would be Clea, and then it wasn't, and then
Mhm.
you get the girl toward the end that's like, we can't let Dormammu die because we're he's protecting us, we'll all die.
Mhm.
Which was awesome, by the way. I didn't expect
Yes.
Dormammu to have a moral code.
Dormammu is awesome.
That was killer.
I love Dormammu. He's one of my favorite Marvel villains, especially at this time. I think he's really cool. Like you said, I really love his moral code, and we will build on that. Where like there are things he is not willing to do because of different deals he's made and things like that, or agreements. And even when he's going to fight Doctor Strange, he like houses him like before they fight. He's like, go chill out here, and like
Oh,
then we'll fight.
interesting. No, what it kind of feels like is by the end of this, Doctor Strange has two real arch nemesis, and then Nightmare's just this irritant that occasionally comes in and doesn't have like really any chance, even though he seems really powerful. But he's so I guess I'll put it like this: that makes him like Batmite, right? And, and then and then Mordo is sort of like Doctor Strange's Joker in that he's a guy with no moral compass that he can't respect. And then Dormammu would be like take your pick out of the rogues gallery, but he'd be with Batman, he'd be like a Two-Face or something, where like he's a bad guy, but your hero has some degree of respect for him at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's cool that he's got that gamut of rogues by the end of this. So yeah, you're right. He's only really got 3 bad guys, but we do quite a bit with all of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And because obviously, as I kind of hinted at, the next big thing we're moving to is Mordo and Dormammu as a team. And the only reason they team up is because of the deal, the bargain, if you will, that Doctor Strange makes at the end of this.
And don't get me wrong, I like the Dormammu in the Doctor Strange movie as a much more kind of like grand, inhuman entity. But so I'm not, having finally looked at this, I'm not annoyed that they didn't directly adapt that.
Mm-hmm. No, same here.
Because they make him more kind of Galactus-y, which I really like.
Dormammu in the movie is I feel like it's a promise to do more with him later, where it's like
and we haven't yet.
And we haven't yet. But that's what they set up for the 3rd movie, so like
fingers crossed. Fingers crossed we even get that movie.
Yeah. I really hope that next movie is just Clea and Strange dealing with Dormammu, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, and not to just get into the movies again, but it's still so weird that that a showdown with Mordo probably happened between movies, and that we like never really did anything with him. But I guess that's all done now.
After that first movie, Mordo started attacking him every day. With like increasingly ridiculous plots.
Well, and isn't it kind of interesting? Yeah, and at no point did he try to separate Doctor Strange from his astral form either, which is the clear winning idea. But isn't it also interesting in adapting from this to MCU, and then I'll get off the movies, but isn't it interesting that we made Dormammu more of just a like a big high concept entity, and he doesn't have that what's the word I'm looking for, sympathetic motivation, and then we made Mordo more sympathetic.
That is true.
So like we flipped it.
Yeah, I imagine probably because Mordo is like the person you'll have on set.
Yeah,
I guess like not that they haven't done CGI villains. But I wonder if that was maybe part of their motivation.
Well, and I imagine that Mordo probably gets a lot more character dimension in later runs and stuff. Mm-hmm. But just looking at this to that movie, the movie version is an improvement, certainly.
But what's really cool, Cap, this is something I wanted to bring up anyways, so I'm glad that we're here, is it's an improvement, but his end motivation in that after credit scene is this motivation. Like his motivation in this is I'm going to be the only wizard. I'm going to take out every other wizard, and then I'm going to be the last one.
He's Highlander.
Yeah, exactly.
But I liked that in the movie it comes from...
No, it comes from a completely different place. I just think it's cool that we found a way to take that
and still make him the same guy.
Make him the same guy with the same kind of plan. It's just he doesn't want to be the only wizard so he can take over the world. It's it's for different reasons. I just think that's really cool.
Yeah, but it's cool that we found a way to do that and make him kind of sympathetic, where he's a little bit more of a like Clark Kent Lex Luthor thing, where they don't start as adversaries in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as opposed to here where, like, he's evil right from the get-go.
Well, and some of it too, I'm still in the movie again, sorry. Some of it too is, some of this is just like villain archetypes I really like. So like villains that I can't stand, like inconsistency like that is interesting, but also, you know how much I like a morally ambiguous Professor X, which is what the Ancient One isn't in that movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. As opposed to here where the Ancient One's just an a-hole.
Chewbacca's Lover left a super chat earlier that I missed. Sorry about that. $5 super chat. He just says Wes Craven was supposed to make a movie of this in the 80s. Yeah, I knew about that with Tom Selleck. The Poltergeist guy was also considered. And of course, Goyer wrote one. I didn't know that the
Toby Hooper.
Yeah, and I could see that.
Yeah,
I can actually kind of see that.
With Craven, it depends
wrote everything.
when he makes it. Like, I think he would have been a great choice for Swamp Thing. He just makes that movie too early.
Yeah, sure.
Like, if it's like mid to late 80s Wes Craven doing Doctor Strange, that could be really cool. But also, I don't know that he would have had the budget to do like really crazy things.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about Wes Craven making specifically Doctor Strange, but I just met he said the Poltergeist guy. I could see that guy playing Doctor Strange.
Or
was he saying?
Sorry, I thought he meant Toby Hooper, the director of Poltergeist.
Oh, I see.
That as the actor. Okay.
No, I was thinking about that differently.
No, I don't. Well, I don't know because now that you said that, like.
No, I'm pretty sure that's what he meant.
Okay, I mean I could see it either way.
Anyway,
and of course Goyer wrote a Doctor Strange movie.
Right, he wrote something for everything. Austin, the thing I liked about the Loki issue was and in some ways I felt like it comes a little too late. Actually, is just the Sorry, it's getting late.
That's okay.
The clear kind of context that makes Doctor Strange not seem like all powerful, that gives him some real honest to God limitations. So I like, well, maybe it actually is kind of nice that it comes as late as it does, and I'm thinking about it, because Doctor Strange comes off as this really mysterious figure who can do just about anything, and we do have some rules and limitations that hold him back some, but like by and large, he's usually the most powerful person in the room, and he'll go up against some entities that match him and that like might be a little bit more powerful than him, but you're never really worried that he's not going to figure out a way around something. And then you get this great sense of perspective. That's what I was looking for. When you get to the Loki issue where Doctor Strange flat out at the beginning goes, "I'm out of my league. This guy's a god."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is what we do with Dormammu as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And I really liked that.
Mm-hmm. No, I do too. I also like with Dormammu that there isn't really like this is how I can win, and then he wins. The only reason he makes it out of that is he just doesn't die.
Well, and actually, the way he gets out of the thing with Loki is really easy and convenient, but I don't mind it too much because that's the way the issue plays it too. Is like, oh god, I got out of this by the skin of my teeth. Like maybe I was a little overconfident, because it's just Thor flies by and Loki goes, "I don't want Thor to see me here." He just leaves.
Yeah.
It's great. True, yeah. And then Doctor Strange is basically like, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. I'm really glad I got out of this okay. Like, he literally does nothing that saves him in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, exactly. It literally just is Loki goes, "Oh crap, it's Thor."
And he kind of sweet talks his way out of the thing with Dormammu. So like he at least has to have a little bit of ingenuity with that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just mean because you have the mindless ones who are gonna like tear through the dark domain or the dark dimension. I'm like interchanging it with the MCU version now.
Yeah.
Uh, and more Mordo,
Dormammu.
Dormammu like keeps them at bay, and he uses too much power fighting Doctor Strange, which weakens the barrier, and they can get in.
Yeah.
So like the only reason he lives is that Dormammu's like, oh crap, like those guys are here, and then he's too weak to be able to fight them off.
Maybe I'm conflating it with another issue. I thought there was kind of like the movie, like sort of a bargain he had to make with him.
There is. It's after that. It's Dormammu's like, crap, like I can't kill you now. Like you just helped me save my entire dimension.
Yeah, because he's got a code.
Yeah, because no, exactly.
It's great.
Exactly.
Where he's like,
It's
well,
like a
that would be
lobster.
wrong. I can't just straight up kill you. And then Doctor Strange gives him like kind of an ultimatum. And he's like, you got to let me go, and you have to not kill this girl that will be Clea, apparently.
Yeah, and she will be a very important part of this run moving forward, and she will not be named.
This, everybody,
really
is
weird.
Cleopatra. It's so strange, that reveal. But yeah, that's not a great issue.
That's also weird to think about that there's like 3 women in this entire half of the run that we read, and one of them is named Cleopatra, and the other is named Clea.
And I don't remember what the other one's
know that
named.
yet,
Like, who cares?
That's weird.
No, that is weird. But yeah, all the trippy, weird
Oh,
stuff.
wait a minute. There's the greatest panel of all time where Doctor Strange gets attacked by a midget.
And they say it?
He's
He
like,
goes,
oh, no.
dude, I took a picture of that to send you, and then I forgot to send it. But that made me laugh so hard.
Every single person I know that has read that has sent me that panel.
Well, yeah, because that's a whole thing with you. And he just goes, oh my god, it's a midget. That happened.
Yeah, it's so funny.
So am I wrong that just in the face she looks a little bit more like a Kirby design to me?
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. I think for me, Ditko has like a, for lack of a better word, kind of like frumpy, short-haired woman that he kind of goes to, and she kind of falls into that.
Okay.
So it's like, because that's also what Betty Brant is. But I think
Maybe it's just the eyebrows.
no. But now that you're saying that, like, there's a little bit of Wasp in her design, like in her outfit.
Yeah. Well, and she also looks like she's got that really extravagant, like overproduced look like every woman that was ever in a TOS episode. And this is just before that. Like she's
Vaseline on the panel.
Yes, there's Vaseline on the lens.
That's
But
beautiful.
like that's that unobtainable alien chick on a planet that Kirk really wants to sleep with, right? Like
100%.
Or maybe not that unattainable. Maybe attainable like for a minute, and then he's gonna go destroy the computer and ruin her life and then leave.
When Stranger's even like, "Hey, baby, you want to come back with me?" And she's like, "No,
Oh
this
yeah,
is my home."
It's like, no, I got to stay here. Did you miss that whole thing about all my responsibilities and I like her pants look like they've got spider webbing all over them.
Yep, that they
What
do.
is it
She's
with
Madam
Ditko
Web.
She is Madam Web. They should have just made a Clea movie instead of a Madam Web movie.
They should just make a Clea movie. I'm fine with that.
And then the big reveal at the end is that she's named Clea because she's actually the historical Cleopatra.
And I don't think she's named in that after credit scene. So hopefully we get an entire movie where she's a main character and never named.
That would be great. So this is the very next issue that we didn't read, and I just threw this panel in here because that's the first shot of his new, more modern look with the red cape.
Yep, and we're there. Like, we're at just what you think of as Doctor Strange.
But you're right. That is a yellow cape. I mean, all you really see is the collar, but the collar is also supposed to be red. So it's really strange that it changed over months.
Yeah, like there's yellow on the back of it, but it's not that yellow.
No, it really looks like they have not fully designed it yet.
Yeah, and I wondered, like, this time if maybe that was like a miscolor or something, like if it's been recolored or something, because I know that's something that they've been doing a lot with older comics.
Well, and I had that thought and I wanted to mention that, so I'm glad you brought that up. Is that these do look recolored to me,
Yeah, 100%.
and you're looking at them on the single issues on Marvel Unlimited. Does it look exactly the same? Like, is it?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's the exact same.
so it's the same
like,
scans
transfer.
but transfer, yeah. But mine was from that bigger collection, but it's the exact same. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Austin, we're at about an hour.
Yeah.
What didn't we hit that you really want to talk about?
I don't know. I feel like we hit a lot of the broad strokes. Like, what I like about this book is it's just a lot of just really fun, kind of creepy, uh, horror-y kind of stories. Like, it does really feel like some like kids probably read this and were like a little scared at the time, and I think that's really cool in the Marvel universe.
That's a good point. It's a good sense of perspective because I wasn't thinking that while I was reading it. I've read enough weird stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, but you're right. Like, put yourself back in the time and place when you're a kid, and there's, yeah. I mean, I think the name of the game here is variety, where these guys were trying to throw out like a little something for everybody. So there's a few different books that have that kind of creepier horror bent, but this is a different flavor than the way Hulk is doing that.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Because
this
Hulk does
your
it in more of a
Vincent
psychological
Price movie.
Yeah,
That's your Universal monster.
but also like psychological thriller versus a cult thriller.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. And yeah, it's very different and just really cool. It's some of my favorite comics from this period.
No, I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I would have never read it probably if it weren't for you. So I'm glad that you brought this up and that we ended up doing it. Because every time I go back to Marvel stuff from this period that I haven't read, it gives me like more of a sense of perspective of that period. Something else I wanted to say is the approach to this. First of all, we get a shocking amount done in 8 or 9 pages with a lot of these. Like, and some of them, I'm like, okay, there wasn't like the one that neither of us really cared for that much with the time travel thing, where it's like that does read like kind of a truncated, dull 8-page story that if you had more real estate, maybe you would have done something cool with. Most of these don't really have that. Most of them, it feels like 8 pages was all you needed. And that's kind of cool. Like, I like the way the real estate is being used and how economical it is. But it feels like we're taking a premise and we're, like, in these backup features, just testing the elasticity of it. Where we're seeing, like, how versatile is this really? Like, what are all the different kinds of places we could take a character like this? So it feels proving ground all the way through. Like, it is just screaming... Stan Lee wants to do 22-page stories with this, and he just doesn't know if anybody will buy it.
Absolutely. And I think you'll really see that moving forward, because the next half, like I said, we get like one issue, and then after that, the rest of the run is basically one story that's constantly building on top of each other. Just know that while I like the ending of this book, it's very much a Steve Ditko went, I'm done with Stan Lee and having to deal with Marvel, and went, I'm just gonna end it, and like drops like every thread that they're building. So
that's rough.
It is going to have that in the ending, but
you always have to know the real life context with that stuff.
It really feels like a big middle finger to Marvel. Like he slapped down the pages and went, I'm out. But
I mean, that's another. These are other ways that it ends up watching like a broadcast TV show, right? Where you have showrunners that get mad that their shows get canceled, so they do a real BS last episode. And you also have that like finding your footing thing. Like, there's a lot of shows that start real episodic, and then by the second or third season, it's much arcier. Like, everything you're describing and what I read with this feels like pre-streaming television to me.
It makes it so much sadder that this never got a animated series. That was a
Yeah,
big
you
thing I was
really should
thinking
have.
of with that haunted house issue. I was like, this would make such a good episode.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah.
That'd be super cool. And it'd be one of those fan favorite things everybody always talked about that was like a one and done. You never really went back
Yeah.
to it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The house would be voiced by the guy who plays Chairface.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Or it could be names are not coming to me today. Spawn voice.
Oh, Keith David.
Keith David.
Keith David is the haunted house. But at the same time, I'm like, Keith David should be a Dormammu in this show. Like, that'd be awesome.
Well, sure, yeah. Yeah, so who's your one-off voice that you don't want to be anybody else? It's Matt Frewer as the haunted house.
Yeah, well, then Keith David would be a better Dormammu than the guy from Spider-Man that's like, Mordo!
Oh, that's why you said the chair face, because, yeah, he's Mordo.
Oh my god, I forgot that was that guy.
Oh, I thought that's why you said it.
No, that's really funny.
Yeah, that was Chairface. He's great. One of my favorite things about him getting cast is that I got to hear in almost exactly the same voice. I can't think of his name right now. The guy who played Chairface say "Carnage." It's so good.
Oh wait, he's Mordo, I think, right? Not Dormammu.
No, that's why I said he's Mordo. But I thought.
Oh, sorry, I misheard you.
But
Sorry.
I thought that's why in the moment, I was like, oh, he brought him up because he was in that show.
No, I completely forgot that's who that was. That's really
so
funny. Yeah, I need that, and I need like the really cool RPG game. Those are the big things I need.
Were you surprised? Do you mean like pencil and paper or like?
No, like a video
game.
Like a yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it is weird. We
learn new abilities and stuff.
Yeah, and there's not enough good magic-based games like that in general.
Yeah, exactly.
Or at least I don't think there is. I don't like keep up that hard with video games, but I was surprised not to see more crossover stuff.
Yeah, it's really only Thor in...
When we get to that Loki issue, I was actually kind of shocked, because for a second I forgot we were in a grander universe. We weren't doing anything with anybody else. I was like, oh, and then there's Loki. You would have thought Doctor Doom, because he shows up with in everything.
Their way out is Mordo calls him Doctor Doom. That's their in.
Well, and that seems as appropriate or more so than in this than dealing even with Loki.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because even Dormammu's got like a little bit of Doctor Doom with him, like in him, where he's kind of the ruler of his own place, and
yeah,
he's kind of seen as more of a protector of his people.
Yeah, that's a great point. I could even see like a Doctor Doom Mordo team up or something.
Oh, sure, yeah. Well, one of the big Doctor Strange books everybody loves is that Doctor Doom one where they go to hell to get his mom back.
Oh, yeah. I feel like I've read that. Maybe I've just read about that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That rings bells.
Anyway. That's one that people really want for 3, and I'm like, I want the Dormammu thing first. If we get a 4th Doctor Strange, we can do that.
Or if you can make something before that actually establishes Doctor Doom, but don't establish him in that.
Yeah, or do a Doctor Doom movie.
Yeah.
I'd be fine with that.
Well, anyway, are you good to wrap it up?
Yes, I am.
Austin's like, yeah, I fell asleep 10 minutes ago.
No, although I will say with that Loki thing,
yeah.
It is funny that the first crossover we get with him in the MCU is Thor and Loki. Because it's in Ragnarok. That's like the first time he interacts with any other Marvel characters.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, crazy.
Yeah, I don't know, sometimes you get like kind of funny little coincidences like that in the MCU.
Yeah. I mean, too bad the movie sucks, but...
Yeah. The only time he wore the gloves.
No, I for a second I completely forgot he was in that, but yeah.
He's in like one scene.
Because he's right at the beginning, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
And that's not a bad scene.
No, it's not. He's just playing comic book Doctor Strange.
Yeah, no, the gloves thing. Yeah, that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, everybody, thanks a lot for watching. Sure appreciate it. I don't know if I want to try to announce something for next time because I'm between a couple of things. Because this is gonna be my turn to pick. What I'm kicking around is going to something a lot more recent. Because I've been dabbling a little bit in newer stuff, and I'm thinking about having us. This would be very, very recent because I'm caught up on it. But I'm thinking about maybe having us do the new Kneel Before Zod book. Because that is 6 issues in, which is what you usually put out for trade, and it's a good stopping point. So I think I might pick that because I'm curious to know what you'd think of that.
Yeah, for sure. No, that sounds cool.
But
and something very different from this, so we're like really jumping around.
Very different. I could change my mind in the interim, though. I don't know yet.
Yeah,
but that time. That might be what we're gonna do. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching, guys. Because there's another more recent DC. It'll be a recent DC, whatever it is. I think.
Yeah. Well, my next one is obviously finishing this run, but my one after that is a very recent thing.
Oh, cool.
So.
Well, and I've been wanting to make you read some IDW Ninja Turtles because I'm trying to do more Ninja Turtle stuff for the channel this year.
Yeah.
And that's probably what I should do next. But
if you save it for after we finish this one, we'll have kind of like a kind of theme going. But
oh, really?
Yeah, with my next one after this, yeah.
Which you're keeping concealed right now.
I mean, I can say it if you want.
No, it's fine. It's fine if you want to keep it a secret.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
I'm curious to see how it's a theme with Ninja Turtles, though.
They're both.
Oh, it's gonna be Transformers, isn't it?
It's the new Transformers book. Yeah, they're both like 80s cartoons that are. Oh no, it's not the 40th anniversary of Turtles this year, is it?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so it's the 40th anniversary of both. See, I was thinking of the cartoon because the cartoon's 86.
The Turtles cartoon is 87, but
87.
But it's the anniversary of Mirage.
Mm-hmm.
So Turtles as a property starts in 84, just like Transformers.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, Turtles is 3 years after that for cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
no, it might be cool to alternate between Transformers and Turtles for a minute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, both big anniversary years.
Yeah, and kind of fun that it sort of goes together.
I don't know if they've ever crossed over though. Oh, they just have those toys now. I know. But
yeah,
and had like a story crossover.
I'm trying to remember if the comics have done it yet.
Oh, maybe when they were both at IDW, like was it like Infestation, like those kind of like big events. I don't know if they crossed over between the properties.
Well, but they crossed a ton of stuff over later on after that, and I think they did something with them.
Oh, okay.
I can't keep up with all of that anymore. Like a lot of it I know, but that one I just cannot remember.
Yeah.
It was weird when they did it with Ghostbusters because I don't understand what Transformers and Ghostbusters remotely have in common. But
I don't know if I could name a single thing.
I think they did some weird thing with like ghost Transformers.
That reminds me, the other day I saw, I guess they did like some toy crossover with Ghostbusters and Transformers recently, but I saw it was like, oh, the like Transformer Ecto one. And all of the pictures on the website were just of the car. Like every comment was like, okay, but it's a Transformer. What's the other mode?
Yeah. You always have to have two pictures with a Transformer.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Hasbro.
The Transformers Back to the Future crossover was pretty great though, because you got a transforming clock tower. It was badass.
Oh, that's really funny.
And then the one that they did for Transformers and Star Trek was pretty great because they crossed it over specifically with TAS.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, no, that sounds awesome.
I read that. That was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know since it was IDW, like that book goes to more of a sci-fi place. Yeah. So that also makes sense to cross those over.
Well, and sometimes they would do crossovers where they weren't really specifically the versions that were happening right then, right?
Oh,
So
okay.
so that was like specifically Gen 1 and TAS. Like it was Saturday morning cartoon.
Oh,
And
okay. Yeah.
that was great. But when IDW would have those different properties, they could go to different versions of it. So like they had their version of Ghostbusters, but then they also would do real Ghostbusters stuff occasionally, and that was like separate. And then they crossed them, where they had IDW's
Oh.
Ghostbusters and real Ghostbusters
Mhm.
in a cross-dimensional thing.
Well, and then they had like a 2016 book, didn't they?
Yeah, well, and they crossed, and they introduced, I want to say, the 2016 Ghostbusters in a crossover with all their different versions.
Oh, okay.
And then later they gave it its own mini. And I didn't read that, but I read the crossover that introduced them, and Burnham's voice for them was pretty good.
Oh, okay. That's pretty cool.
I kind of dug that okay, even though that movie's kind of nonsense, but I kind of liked what he did with them.
Yeah, well, now none of that stuff's in print because Dark Horse just got the license,
Isn't that
and
crazy?
they've done
Well,
nothing with it so
hey,
far.
Dark Horse needs something, man.
They do need something.
They got nothing.
Exactly. Anyways, we're just like going on and on.
Yeah, we got to pad out the runtime. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. We'll see you next time. I was Captain Logan. This is Austin. The day goes.
Yeah, see ya, everybody.